Joseph Holloway walked into Judge Judy's courtroom like a man who owned half of Manhattan. His custom Italian suit, tailored to perfection and worth at least $10,000, moved with him as if it were a second skin. On his wrist gleamed what appeared to be a Rolex Presidential, the kind of timepiece that screams success from across a room easily valued at $50,000. He carried a Louis Vuitton briefcase in one hand, and everything about his posture suggested he was accustomed to being the most important person in every room he entered. This was Joseph Holloway, the self-proclaimed CEO of Holloway Luxury Properties, a real estate development company specializing in high-end residential properties throughout Rhode Island and Massachusetts. He claimed a personal net worth of $200 million and boasted an annual salary of $5 million. To look at him, you'd believe every word. But Joseph wasn't in Judge Judy's courtroom to close a luxury real estate deal or impress potential investors. He was being sued by Elena Rodriguez, a 42-year-old single mother and former housekeeper who claimed he owed her $15,000 in unpaid wages. Elena had worked for Joseph for 8 months, cleaning and maintaining his 5 luxury properties, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, at an agreed rate of $2,000 per month. According to her lawsuit, Joseph paid her for the first month, then began making excuses. Next week turned into next month. Promises turned into delays. And when Elena finally demanded her money after 7 months of patient waiting, Joseph didn't just refuse to pay her. He threatened to call immigration authorities, despite Elena being a legal resident with proper documentation. Then he fired her via text message with 3 words that would come back to haunt him. "You're done. Don't come back." When Elena's attorney sent a demand letter, Joseph responded with an offer that was designed to insult her. $500 to go away and sign a non-disclosure agreement. He called her claim pocket change not worth my time and suggested she was trying to extort a successful businessman who had better things to do than deal with disgruntled employees who couldn't handle the standards of excellence he demanded. But Elena refused to back down, and that's how both of them ended up in Judge Judy's courtroom on a Monday morning, about to engage in a battle that would expose everything Joseph had worked so carefully to hide. What Joseph didn't know, what he couldn't have anticipated as he strutted confidently to the defendant's table, was that he was about to make one catastrophic error that would unravel his entire carefully constructed facade. He was going to look Judge Judy directly in the eyes and claim he had $80,000 in cash sitting in his bank account right at that very moment. He was going to dare her to verify it, thinking she'd never actually make the call, believing his bluff would intimidate both the judge and his accuser into backing down. He thought his expensive suit and his confident demeanor would be enough to make everyone believe he was exactly who he pretended to be. He was wrong. What happened next wasn't just justice being served in a small claims courtroom. It was the complete financial unmasking of a man who had built his entire life on lies, borrowed luxury, and the exploitation of people he considered beneath him. It was the moment when perceived wealth collided with actual poverty, when arrogance met accountability, and when a fake Rolex and a rented suit came face to face with a judge who had seen every con, every lie, and every scheme imaginable in her decades on the bench. If you have watched this far, don't miss the end of the video. Like the video, sit back, and enjoy listening to the story because what you are about to witness will be the most expensive bluff in courtroom history. This CEO's arrogance will cost him not just money, but his entire empire built on lies, and Judge Judy's phone call will become the moment that destroys everything he pretended to be. Monday morning, 10:30 a.m., Judge Judy's courtroom. The bailiff's voice cuts through the quiet murmur of the courtroom. Holloway versus Rodriguez. Joseph strides to the defendant's table with the confidence of someone who has never faced real consequences in his life. Elena stands nervously at the plaintiff's table, clutching a worn folder containing handwritten work logs, text message printouts, and photographs documenting 8 months of labor she was never paid for. She's wearing a simple dress from a discount store, and the contrast between her and Joseph couldn't be more stark. Judge Judy looks up from her bench with those sharp eyes that have intimidated countless liars and frauds over her legendary career. "Good morning, Mr. Holloway." Joseph barely glances in her direction. "Morning." "Not Your Honor." "Not Judge Scheindlin." "Just morning, delivered with the casual dismissiveness you'd give to someone holding a door open for you. Judge Judy's eyes narrow slightly, but she maintains her professional composure. Judge Judy wastes no time cutting to the heart of the matter. Mr. Holloway, Ms. Rodriguez is suing you for $15,000 in unpaid wages. She claims she worked as a housekeeper for your properties for 8 months and you only paid her for 1 month. What's your response to these allegations? Joseph lets out a condescending laugh, the kind that suggests he finds the entire situation beneath him. Your Honor, this woman is attempting to extort money from a successful businessman. I run a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I manage 5 luxury properties with a combined value of over $40 million. Why on earth would I risk my reputation, my business, and my standing in the community over $15,000? It doesn't make any logical sense. She quit without notice, left my properties in disarray, and now she's trying to shake me down because she knows I have the resources to make frivolous lawsuits go away. Judge Judy leans forward slightly. So you're saying you don't owe her any money? Joseph adjusts his tie confidently. I'm saying that I offered to pay her $500 as a courtesy, which frankly was more generous than she deserved given the circumstances of her departure. But $15,000? That's absolutely ridiculous. She's clearly seen my success and decided to take advantage. Judge Judy turns to Elena. Ms. Rodriguez, tell me your side of this story. Elena's voice is quiet but steady, the voice of someone who has been dismissed and disrespected but refuses to be silenced any longer. Your Honor, I worked for Mr. Holloway for 8 months. I cleaned 5 different properties. Big houses, beautiful homes. I worked 6 days a week, sometimes 10 or 12 hours a day. We agreed on $2,000 per month. He paid me the first month, in cash. Then the second month came and he said he was having cash flow issues, but he'd pay me double next month. I believed him because he seemed successful and honest. Elena continues, her hands trembling slightly as she holds her folder. But next month came and he said the same thing. Always next week, always next month, always some excuse. I kept working because I needed the money and I believed he would pay me. I'm a single mother with 2 children. I couldn't afford to just walk away from $8,000 he already owed me. So I kept working, thinking eventually he'd make it right. After 7 months, I told him I couldn't work anymore without being paid. That's when everything changed. He got angry. He said I was ungrateful. He threatened to call immigration even though I showed him my papers proving I'm legal. Then he sent me a text saying I was done and not to come back. Joseph interrupts with obvious irritation. Your Honor, if I may address these accusations. This entire narrative is completely fabricated. Yes, I hired her. Yes, she worked for a brief period. But her work was substandard, she was frequently late, and she had a terrible attitude. When I attempted to address these performance issues professionally, she became confrontational and hostile. I had no choice but to terminate her employment. The $500 I offered was a goodwill gesture to avoid exactly this kind of situation. Judge Judy's expression suggests she's hearing nothing new, just another version of a story she's heard 1,000 times before. Mr. Holloway, you keep talking about your wealth, your properties, your success. You say $15,000 is nothing to you. So why haven't you just paid her and moved on? Joseph spreads his hands as if the answer is obvious. Because I don't reward dishonesty and poor work ethic, Your Honor. If I pay every person who makes false claims against me, where does it end? I have to stand on principle. I've worked too hard to build my reputation to let people like her damage it with lies. Judge Judy picks up a piece of paper from her bench. People like her. What exactly do you mean by that, Mr. Holloway? Joseph realizes his mistake but tries to recover. I mean people who try to take advantage of successful individuals. People who see someone with resources and think they can manipulate the system to get money they didn't earn. Judge Judy isn't buying it. Ms. Rodriguez, do you have any evidence to support your claims? Elena opens her folder and pulls out several sheets of paper. I have text messages, Your Honor. Lots of them. She hands copies to the bailiff who delivers them to Judge Judy. These are messages from Mr. Holloway over 7 months. Judge Judy begins reading aloud, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Elena, I promise I'll have your money this week. Just got tied up with a big deal. That's from March 15th. Sorry for the delay, cash flow issue with the bank, will definitely pay you next Friday. March 29th. I know I owe you, I haven't forgotten, just dealing with some financial restructuring. April 12th. She looks up at Joseph. There are 23 messages here, Mr. Holloway. 23 times you promised to pay her and didn't. That doesn't sound like someone who fired an employee for poor performance. That sounds like someone stringing along a worker they had no intention of paying. Joseph's confident demeanor flickers for just a moment. Your Honor, those messages are being taken completely out of context. I was being polite, trying to let her down easy while I documented her failures properly. Judge Judy cuts him off. You were being polite by lying to her 23 times. That's an interesting definition of politeness, Mr. Holloway. Joseph shifts uncomfortably but maintains his arrogant facade. Your Honor, I understand how this might look to someone unfamiliar with how business relationships work, but the reality is that managing multiple properties and employees requires delicate handling. I couldn't just tell her she was fired without proper documentation. I was building a case for termination while trying to be compassionate about her situation. Judge Judy's expression makes it clear she's not impressed. Compassionate. You kept her working for 7 months without pay and you call that compassionate? Mr. Holloway, I've been doing this for a long time, and I can smell nonsense from a mile away. Elena, do you have anything else? Any other witnesses who can verify you were working at these properties? Elena nods. Yes, Your Honor. There were other workers at the properties sometimes. Landscapers, pool maintenance people, and other contractors. They saw me there almost every day for 8 months. I also have photographs. She produces another stack of papers from her folder. These are pictures I took of myself at each property with my phone. The timestamps show the dates. 8 months of photographs, Your Honor. Every week, sometimes every day. Joseph laughs dismissively, but there's an edge of nervousness creeping into his voice. Your Honor, are we really going to parade a bunch of minimum wage workers through here to tell lies for each other? These people stick together. They'll say whatever she coached them to say. And photographs? Anyone can take pictures of houses from the outside. That proves nothing. Judge Judy's patience is visibly thinning. Mr. Holloway, I'm getting very tired of your attitude. You keep talking about your wealth, your properties, your success, your company worth hundreds of millions. But you're standing in my courtroom because you allegedly refused to pay a housekeeper $15,000. That's a fraction of what you claim to be worth. So either you're lying about your wealth, or you're exactly the kind of person who exploits workers because you think they can't fight back. Which is it? Joseph straightens his shoulders, offended. Your Honor, I take great exception to that characterization. I am a legitimate businessman with a proven track record of success. I employ dozens of people. I contribute to the local economy. I pay my taxes. One disgruntled former employee making false accusations doesn't change any of that. Judge Judy leans back in her chair, studying him with those penetrating eyes that have broken countless witnesses. Mr. Holloway, you claim you're worth $200 million. You say $15,000 is pocket change. You're wearing what looks like a very expensive watch and a suit that probably costs more than most people make in a month. So let me ask you directly. Can you afford to pay Ms. Rodriguez right now? Joseph senses a trap but can't resist the opportunity to boast. Of course I can afford it, Your Honor. I have $80,000 sitting in my personal checking account right now. That's just my walking around money, what I keep liquid for daily expenses. I could write her a check this very second and not even notice the difference in my account balance. Judge Judy's eyes light up with an expression that veteran courtroom observers know means someone is about to regret their words. $80,000 in your checking account right now? Joseph, committed to the Bluff, doubles down. That's correct, Your Honor. 80,000, give or take a few hundred. I'm very careful about maintaining adequate liquidity for business opportunities and personal expenses. Judge Judy pauses, letting the silence stretch. You're absolutely certain about that number? 80,000. Joseph nods confidently, not seeing the trap closing around him. I manage my finances very carefully, Your Honor. I know exactly what I have and where I have it. Judge Judy's next words send a chill through the courtroom. Good. Then you won't mind if I verify that right now. Joseph's confident expression falters for the first time. His face goes slightly pale. Verify? What do you mean verify? Judge Judy signals to the bailiff. Bailiff, bring me a telephone. I'm going to call Mr. Holloway's bank and confirm this $80,000 balance he's so confident about. Joseph's voice rises with panic barely concealed beneath forced indignation. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. My banking information is private. You can't just call my bank and demand my personal financial information. Judge Judy's response is ice cold. Mr. Holloway, you brought up your wealth. You made it relevant to this case by claiming you could easily pay but chose not to. You just told me under oath that you have $80,000 in your checking account. Now I'm going to verify that statement. If you're telling the truth, you have nothing to worry about. Unless, of course, you've been lying to me. Joseph stammers, his carefully constructed confidence crumbling. I just don't think it's appropriate for the court to invade my privacy like this. My financial situation is nobody's business but my own. Judge Judy leans forward, her voice sharp as a knife. Wrong. You made it my business when you came into my courtroom bragging about your wealth while refusing to pay a woman who worked for you for 8 months. You made it my business when you claimed to have $80,000 in the bank. Now you're going to prove it, or you're going to admit you've been lying. What's your bank, Mr. Holloway? Joseph looks around the courtroom desperately, as if searching for an escape route that doesn't exist. He's sweating now, despite the air conditioning. His hand moves unconsciously to adjust his tie again, a nervous gesture that betrays his growing panic. I bank with several institutions, Your Honor. My finances are diversified across multiple accounts for tax and investment purposes. Judge Judy is relentless. Your primary checking account. The one with the $80,000. Where is it? Joseph's voice is barely above a whisper now. First National Bank of Providence, but Your Honor, I really must object to this invasion of my privacy. Judge Judy cuts him off with a wave of her hand. Objection noted and overruled. Give me your account number. Joseph fumbles for his phone, his hands visibly shaking. I don't have my account number memorized, Your Honor. I'll need to look it up. Judge Judy's expression is one of pure disbelief. You're a CEO who manages his money very carefully, but you don't know your own checking account number. The account where you keep $80,000 in walking around money? Joseph pulls out his phone and starts scrolling through it with trembling fingers. I have multiple accounts, Your Honor. It's difficult to keep track of all the numbers. I'll just text my assistant to get the information. Judge Judy settles back in her chair. We'll wait. I've got all day, Mr. Holloway. Take your time. The courtroom falls into uncomfortable silence as Joseph pretends to text someone. His face is flushed, sweat beading on his forehead despite his earlier confidence. After what feels like an eternity but is probably only 2 minutes, he clears his throat. I have it, Your Honor. The account number is 4729884892. Judge Judy picks up the phone the bailiff has placed on her bench and begins dialing. She puts the call on speakerphone so the entire courtroom can hear. The ringing echoes through the silent space. Joseph looks like he might be sick. Elena is leaning forward, hardly daring to breathe. After 3 rings, a professional voice answers. First National Bank, customer service, this is Jennifer speaking. How may I help you today? Judge Judy speaks clearly and authoritatively. Jennifer, this is Judge Judith Scheindlin calling from my courtroom. I have a customer of yours present who has given me permission to verify his account balance. I need you to confirm some information for me. Jennifer's voice remains professional and helpful. Certainly, Judge Scheindlin. I'll be happy to assist you. I'll need to verify the account holder's identity first for security purposes. That's perfectly understandable. Judge Judy looks directly at Joseph. Mr. Holloway, please state your full legal name and the last 4 digits of your social security number for verification purposes. Joseph's voice cracks slightly as he speaks. Joseph James Holloway. 7743. Jennifer continues with her security protocol. Thank you, Mr. Holloway. And can you please provide your mother's maiden name as it appears on your account? Joseph swallows hard. Reynolds. Jennifer's voice comes back cheerful and efficient. Perfect, Mr. Holloway. Your identity has been verified. How can I assist you and Judge Scheindlin today? Judge Judy doesn't waste a second. Jennifer, Mr. Holloway has stated under oath in my courtroom that his personal checking account with your bank currently contains approximately $80,000. I need you to verify the exact current available balance on his personal checking account ending in 4892. There's a pause as Jennifer presumably pulls up the account information on her computer. The silence stretches for what feels like an eternity. Joseph is staring at the floor, his jaw clenched tight. Elena's hands are clasped together as if in prayer. Every person in the courtroom is holding their breath, waiting for the words that will either vindicate Joseph or destroy him completely. Jennifer's voice finally breaks the silence, professional and matter-of-fact. Judge Scheindlin, the current available balance on Mr. Holloway's personal checking account ending in 4892 is $347.16. The courtroom explodes. People gasp audibly. Someone in the gallery lets out a low whistle. Elena's mouth drops open in shock. Joseph closes his eyes as if he can make this moment disappear through sheer force of will. Judge Judy's face transforms into an expression of righteous fury mixed with vindication. She holds up one hand to silence the courtroom before speaking again. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Did you say $347? Not $80,000. Jennifer confirms without hesitation. That's correct, Judge Scheindlin. $347.16 is the current available balance. Judge Judy isn't finished. Jennifer, does Mr. Holloway have any other accounts at First National Bank? There's another brief pause. Yes, Judge Scheindlin. He has one savings account linked to his checking account. And what is the balance in that savings account? $22.50, Judge Scheindlin. Judge Judy lets that information hang in the air for a moment before continuing. So if I'm doing my math correctly, Mr. Holloway's total banking relationship with First National Bank consists of $369.66. Is that accurate? That is correct, Judge Scheindlin. One final question, Jennifer. Has Mr. Holloway's checking account been overdrawn at any point in the past 12 months? Jennifer's response is devastating. Yes, Judge Scheindlin. The account has been overdrawn 7 times in the past year, most recently 3 weeks ago. Thank you, Jennifer. You've been extremely helpful. That's all the information I need. You're very welcome, Judge Scheindlin. Have a good day. Judge Judy hangs up the phone and the click echoes through the silent courtroom like a gunshot. She turns her full attention to Joseph, who looks like he wants the floor to open up and swallow him whole. Mr. Holloway, you just told me under oath that you have $80,000 in your checking account. The bank has just confirmed you have $347. Would you like to explain this discrepancy, or should I just charge you with perjury right now? Joseph stammers, his voice desperate and panicked. Your Honor, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I have other accounts, business accounts, investment accounts. My finances are complex and spread across multiple institutions. Judge Judy's voice cuts through Joseph's desperate explanations like a blade through paper. Mr. Holloway, you didn't say business accounts or investment accounts. You specifically said you had $80,000 in your personal checking account. You said it was your walking around money. You said you could write Ms. Rodriguez a check right now and not even notice. Those were your exact words. Now the bank has confirmed you have $347. So either you're a liar, or you're completely delusional about your financial situation. Which is it? Joseph tries a different approach, his voice taking on a pleading quality. Your Honor, I may have misspoken about the exact amount. My finances are complicated, and sometimes I lose track of which account has what balance. But the principle remains the same. I'm a successful businessman with substantial assets. I have equity in properties, I have investment portfolios, I have retirement accounts. My net worth is legitimate even if my checking account balance isn't what I thought it was. Judge Judy picks up another document from her bench, and the look on her face suggests she's about to detonate another bomb. Mr. Holloway, let's talk about these 5 luxury properties you claim to own. These properties you said are worth $40 million combined. Do you actually own these properties, or does your company own them? Joseph shifts his weight from foot to foot. The company owns them, but I'm the CEO, so in a sense I control them. Judge Judy's eyes narrow. That's not what I asked. Do you personally own any real estate at all? Joseph hesitates. I'm currently renting while I explore purchase opportunities in the market. So you own no property. What about this company you keep mentioning? You say you're the CEO. Do you own this company? Joseph's voice gets quieter with each answer. I have an equity stake in the company. How much equity? 5%. Judge Judy pauses to let that sink in. 5%. So you're not the owner, you're an employee with a small equity position. What's your actual title at this company? Joseph looks at the floor. Vice President of Operations. The courtroom erupts again. Judge Judy has to use her gavel to restore order. So you're not even the CEO. You're a vice president who owns 5% of a company, rents his home, and has $347 in the bank. What about that watch you're wearing? That Rolex Presidential. How much is that worth? Joseph's hand instinctively moves to cover his wrist. It's a nice watch, Your Honor. How much did you pay for it? Joseph mumbles something inaudible. Speak up, Mr. Holloway. I didn't quite catch that. It's not a real Rolex. It's a high-quality replica I bought online for $800. Judge Judy looks at Elena's attorney. Counselor, do you have anything to add to this? Elena's attorney stands, holding another document. Yes, Your Honor. After Mr. Holloway refused our settlement demand, we did some investigating. The suit he's wearing isn't custom-made. It's rented from a luxury menswear rental service. We have a copy of his rental agreement. He pays $600 per month to maintain the appearance of wealth. The briefcase is also rented. Even the car he drove here today is a company lease, not his personal vehicle. Judge Judy turns back to Joseph with an expression of absolute contempt. So let me summarize what we've learned today, Mr. Holloway. You came into my courtroom wearing a rented suit and a fake watch, pretending to be a millionaire CEO when you're actually a vice president with $347 in the bank. You exploited Ms. Rodriguez, a hardworking single mother, by refusing to pay her for 8 months of labor because you knew she didn't have the resources to fight back. You lied to me repeatedly, you committed perjury, and you wasted this court's time with your pathetic charade. How am I doing so far? Joseph says nothing, his head hanging in shame. Judge Judy continues, her voice like steel. Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Holloway. You owe Ms. Rodriguez $15,000 in unpaid wages. That judgment is granted in full. Additionally, for the 8 months of emotional distress you caused her, for threatening her with immigration authorities, for exploiting her labor while you paraded around in rented luxury pretending to be someone you're not, I'm awarding her an additional $10,000 in punitive damages. You will also pay all of her legal fees in the amount of $3,000, and you will pay court costs of $1,500. Your total judgment is $29,500. Joseph looks up in horror. Your Honor, I don't have that kind of money. You just heard the bank. I have $300. Judge Judy's response is merciless. Then you'll get a second job, Mr. Holloway. Sell the fake watch. Return the rented suit. Move into a cheaper apartment. Do whatever you need to do, because Ms. Rodriguez is getting every penny you owe her. You have 30 days to pay in full, or she can garnish your wages. And since we now know exactly how much you make, those garnishments are going to hurt. Furthermore, I'm ordering a complete transcript of these proceedings, including the recording of the bank phone call, to be sent to your employer. They have a right to know that their vice president has been lying about his position and misrepresenting himself as the CEO. Joseph's face goes completely white. Your Honor, that will cost me my job. You cost yourself your job the moment you decide to build your life on lies and exploit vulnerable workers. We're done here. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $29,500. Get out of my courtroom. The gavel slams down with finality. Joseph leaves the courtroom a broken man, removing his fake Rolex in the hallway and dropping it in the trash. Within 6 hours, the video of Judge Judy calling his bank goes viral. Fake CEO gets exposed. Live trends on every social media platform. By the next morning, his company has seen the footage and Joseph is fired from his position. His 5% equity stake is bought out at minimum value. Elena receives her payment within 25 days after Joseph sells everything he owns. She uses the money to start her own cleaning business, hiring 3 other women who have been similarly exploited. Sometimes the most expensive lies are the ones told under oath. Joseph Holloway came to court pretending to be a millionaire. He left as a man with $347 and no future. The $80,000 bluff became a $29,500 reality, and Judge Judy's phone call became the most devastating moment in courtroom history. If you enjoyed this story, you can support me by liking it and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. My loyal viewers, see you in the next video. Stay healthy.